Good afternoon to our audiences. Today, we have an amazing podcast coming up with a food allergy mom from Melbourne. She's a documentary filmmaker and producer, Joanne. Joanne, welcome to Immunity Group Australia's podcast.
Thank you very much for having me.
I'm so privileged to meet you on this occasion and to hear about your journey, about your activism, and about the culmination of your creativity, which is embodied in the latest documentary called Risk, which was shown to Australian audiences on a national level. I would like to start with a question. How did you become a food allergy parent?
Absolutely. My son, Dean, who is now 15, he was born with severe eczema. He had rashes all over his body and we couldn't figure out what was going on. So when he was about 4 months of age, we actually took him for someone suggested allergy testing and his back lit up like a Christmas tree. He had multiple food allergies to egg, wheat, nuts, uh, dairy, soy, and I was just shocked. I had no clue back then what it was. So that began our allergy journey back when he was a young baby. And it's led to a lifetime of advocacy because his allergies became more severe as time grew on.
So, what is he allergic to now at the age of
So
15?
now he's actually allergic and anaphylactic to wheat. So he's had multiple severe reactions to wheat and also a multitude of nuts, some peanuts and walnuts and other pistachio and other nuts as well. He yeah, he actually outgrew at 5 years of age his egg and dairy allergy naturally, but unfortunately the other ones have stayed and are quite severe.
As food allergy parents, we know how difficult it is when you find yourself in a very unknown situation. In terms of support, when you discovered his allergies, did you have any support and who gave you the most support in that moment?
That's such a good question. I think any time a new allergy parent is born into this world, the first thing we do is like, I feel so alone. Like it's really hard to find your group or your community. I couldn't find anyone back then. It was back 15 years ago. So I created my own little Facebook group and I reached out to people at, that grassroots level of parents living with it day in, day out, and created our own little group where we're asking questions like, what can I use as a substitute? Or I'm going to a party. What should I do? So getting that moral support from other allergy parents was such a blessing for me.
So you started a movement in a way.
I think there were lots of little groups and there still are, but I think for me, there was a really great charity in Australia who were doing lots of advocacy work at a higher level. But for me, I felt like I needed something more real and more real time, day to day. So creating that group that a parent could actually ask something and all these other parents around Australia were actually answering in real time was such a blessing. So I think, yeah, I was probably one of the bigger first allergy parent groups back when Facebook first existed. Now, the amazing thing about social media is so many, which is a wonderful thing. So, yeah, I did try to start a bit of a grassroots movement with the allergy parents, and I think we achieved that.
I'm so privileged to meet you on that front as well. And what is the name of your Facebook group? Let's
Um,
advertise. Probably.
Sure. So it's Anaphylaxis Network Australia, and it's actually we're a registered charity as well. So we a very small charity, really pretty much just me, but I really try to create awareness in the community through sharing of other parents' stories and journeys, and keeping it real and talking about the real stuff we have to deal with as allergy families.
And is this how your documentary came about? Tell us about Risk. Our audience may not be aware, especially our European and American audiences. So, how did your documentary come about? Where did this idea originate from?
Absolutely. I was creating these little videos that seem to get lots of traction on social media, just about awareness. But I felt we needed something a little bit more professional that could reach a wider audience, something that could be sent to schools, something that could be used with family groups, or something, a resource, a tool. And I wanted it to be a free resource to our community that anyone could access. So, um, fortunately enough for me, I was able to work with another amazing videographer, Josh from Jaylani Productions, and together we produced this documentary, and we put a call out to the community, and so many wonderful allergy families were willing to share their story, and they're the true heroes because it's hard talking about this stuff. It can be quite triggering to talk about our experiences and our traumas, but so many parents put their hands up and wanted to share their stories. And unfortunately, we couldn't share everyone's at this stage, but I'm really grateful I was able to produce this tool, a resource to show the world that allergies are real and they have a big impact on our daily lives and they're quite serious.
And in terms of exposure so far, what's your plan for the documentary?
Absolutely. So we did a soft launch. We've launched it on YouTube so anyone can actually access this right now. They can share it to their community, as I mentioned, to their teachers or schools, or their youth groups or whatever they want to share it to. They're able to do that. Ideally, we would absolutely love to see this go on a bigger scale. So getting picked up by Netflix or SBS in Australia or any other type of channel to get more people to see it. We did produce it in a way that it can be seen on that level. So it's highly produced. So we're hoping, fingers crossed, that someone's able to see this and share it because it's such important messaging.
One of your participants in the documentary, Liesel, is a food allergy mom, and her son Isaac was successfully desensitized in Utah. And in our
Yes.
prior conversations, you mentioned that you were thinking of going across to the United States to see Dr. Jones and get treated with oral immunotherapy or other looking at options. How did that thought come into play in the first place?
Look, I'm a big champion and cheerleader of OIT. So I think that as a community, as a parent, we should be given the choice and the right to choose this as a treatment option for our children. It's something I always felt like I don't want to wait until you know, it's too late, or I want to be given the choice to do that. And I was quite frustrated in a way with the fact that Australia is a little bit more conservative and has traditionally in the past been behind what's going on in America. So I absolutely looked at going to Utah, and I did have a consultation with Dr. Jones. Unfortunately, COVID got in the way for us to travel, but I would absolutely consider and think that every allergy family should have the right to make that informed decision themselves about if this treatment is right for them. And I really am excited to see it become more mainstream in Australia. So thank you for the work that you guys do as well.
Well, we definitely want to also promote education awareness in light of the recent tragedy which happened in our local community in Sydney, in Mosman, with Leon Lee passing tragically away from a suspected case of anaphylaxis. There was also a boy in Melbourne a couple of years ago who passed away from walnut allergy. And my son has anaphylaxis to walnut, luckily desensitized now, but once you're allergic, you're always allergic. Even if you're desensitized, you have to be always aware of allergies. In light of that tragedy in Melbourne, do you feel that anything has changed? We are looking at sort of experiences from Victoria, whether any of that can be replicated in New South Wales.
I think Victoria is one of the leading states in Australia in terms of our laws in relation to, managing anaphylaxis in schools. So that's really amazing. I'd like to see a more national approach to the management of food allergies in schools. Look, every time we lose one of our allergy families or someone's lost, it brings us greater awareness that allergies are real and they can kill. And I think it's so tragic and it's preventable. And that's the key. We can be doing more, and people need to be doing more to this community to help our community. I feel so. I'd like to see greater discussions at a higher level about one death is too much, and we really should be able to stop this from happening.
That is a fantastic message. One death is definitely too much for our community. In terms of support, which you have as a charity, um, do you wish to see more support coming from particular tiers of society, and if so, which ones?
Um, so the work that I do, like I mentioned, is quite grassroots. So I'd like some with more funding, I could do more, really. So I know some of the bigger charities get quite a big funding portion. I think it'd be great to see some funding go to some of the smaller other charities. So there's a different messaging coming from different areas, approaching it from lots of different areas. I'd love to be able to go to schools and deliver more education about food allergies and the risks at a younger age, so that all these allergy kids are going to become allergy adults as well. So, or hopefully not with what's going, with advances in medication. But I'd like to see, more funding so that we can support more areas of the community. I'd love to continue to do the work that I do and see others continue the work that they're doing with more funding and support.
Hopefully, in the near future, Victorian government or education department could also stand behind your charity to show the movie, the documentary to more audiences. That could be potentially
That would be
one
amazing.
step ahead.
Absolutely. And I will just say as well is our community itself needs to stand up too. Like, I know it's hard as an allergy parent. I get it. You're juggling life, you're juggling these allergies, but if it's not us, who's it going to be, right? So not just when your child has a reaction, it's you stand up. You need to stand up all the time for all our families, all of us as a community. So I would implore all allergy families to help get involved in this, advocacy. Like, even a little bit can help, like sharing or posting or anything can help. So please, guys, do your bit too.
Thank you so much. This was an amazing message to conclude. And please, everybody, go to YouTube and you can watch Risk at any point, share it with your community. And we would like you to get more involved in your local community and support food allergy advocacy. Thank you so much, Anne, for this interview.
Thank you so much, Nina.